Hello and welcome to the Unscathed Life podcast, a podcast that inspires you to push beyond adversity and rewrite your story. On the show, I'll be sharing some of the core principles that underpin unscathed living, a life I define as the intentional manifestation of your highest self, regardless of circumstance. My guests all embody unscathed living and will be sharing relatable practices that have helped them stay advancing despite adversity. My name is Toma Muswagu and I am your host. Let's get started. Awesome! So I am super excited to have you. Welcome to the Unscathed Life podcast. So today, by the time you'll be listening to this session, it will be the 31st of December 2020. And I was super intentional. I was super intentional about the guests that would usher us into the new year. I decided I was going to go for a phenomenal, totally transformative speaker. I have got the amazing Paul Foh in the house. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let you know. So if you don't know who Paul is, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who he is. I'll first of all ask which rock you've been hiding under. But I will just tell you a little bit about who Paul is. So Paul Foh is the CEO of the Sales Factory Africa. He's a sales and a productivity coach. He's an author of not one, not two, not three, but 7 amazing books. He's a TEDx speaker and he coaches clients individually and corporately, globally. And he's popularly called Africa's number one sales coach. Thank you so much, Paul Foh.
Thank you so much.
I am super excited to have you, and I cannot wait for my guests, my listeners, to just experience you. So, Paul, what we discuss on the Unscathed Life podcast is really about, experiences, what some of those stories, some of those defining moments in our lives that we have been able to push through, being able to overcome. I call it the intentional manifestation of our highest self, regardless of circumstance. So I want to really dive in, because I know that behind such a great man, there has to be a story. There has to be a story of you overcoming something. So I want to start. Let's dial up. Let's go back to the very beginning. Who was Paul as a child? Who was Paul Foh as a child?
Yeah, so I came from a polygamous family. So my father had 3 wives.
Oh wow!
14 children. So I'm the last of the 14 children.
Wow! We've got that in common.
Oh wow! Fantastic. Yeah. So, but I never met him. So because when I was born, that's when he died. That same year. So, and I'm a twin, and this is breaking news. Nobody knows I'm a twin. It's crazy. Wow. People don't know that I'm a twin brother. Yeah. So I don't talk about him because of certain reasons I'm going to talk about later in the show. I just feel that I'm in that place where I am comfortable of letting it out, So yeah, so I never met my father. So there's this gap. I'm in my 40s. But whether you like it or not, there's that echo, that gap of you being affirmed by a man, your father, that my son, you're doing well, I love you and I appreciate someone that you can even take care of. But I never had that experience. So it scarred me, really. It did. Yeah, it did in a very significant way, but not in a negative way. Funny enough. So my mother has been a widow all her life. So she never remarried. So that means I grew up with only my mother and my sisters. Mm-hmm. So I've never had a fatherly figure in my life. Never. But my twin brother didn't relate to that experience in a good way. So he went into all kinds of drug addiction, crazy. Even till now, we're trying to manage and put him together. So, but my sister told me something profound recently. She said, you don't know the role a man plays in a child's life. So you need to show your brother empathy. How you escaped, I can't explain. Even me, I can't even explain. You get me? I do not know how to explain. So
Wow.
probably because of that, I overcompensate with that with my own sons. I tell my sons I love them every day, kiss them on their forehead every single day, because I know what that affirmation does to a person. So those are, so I have those scars in my soul. So these are the reasons why I guess I take life very, very seriously. You know, so I always tell my sons, don't use words like just. That is just a, that's it. There's no such that just. Life is serious, so hey, I'm trying to balance that with some fun, but hey, that is my story. And it's a story where you see your mother struggle with poverty. It's a story where nobody has ever taken me to a shop and buy me pairs of shoes. Never. As a child. Never. People don't know that. I have never experienced that. Someone taking me to a shop and buying me a pair of shoes as a child. Never. It has never happened. Never happened. So my mother is illiterate. So that means that anytime you come back from school, nobody's looking at your result and saying you did well.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine that kind of experience. Nobody has come and said, oh, you did well in your school. You need to improve on that. Never, because the woman can't read. All she thinks about is how to put food on the table. That's all. I go to church. That's all. That's the best that she can do as at that time. You get me? So that's to show you how powerful, experiences are. But how they didn't affect me, I'm trying to find myself, honestly. This question is very powerful. I've been telling myself recently, I said, I don't know myself. I don't know me. I need to know me. Why am I the way I am? It's crazy, Tom. I've been married for 13 years. Happily, faithfully. So where did I model that from? I don't know me. So I'm on that search.
Wow. I love how you explain it. Obviously, it's sad about your twin brother, and I want to kind of talk about that a little bit to the degree to which you are comfortable. I was speaking at a I was at a speaking engagement over the weekend, and what I was saying was, it's interesting because I didn't even know this, but I was saying that you can have the same experience happen to two different people, but one goes up and the other comes down. What's interesting is, I know you say you don't know, but were there some kind of indicators in your early childhood that showed that you were reacting? Obviously you came out in a certain way, but were there some things in your early childhood that started to differentiate you and your brother and show that you guys were kind of going on different trajectories? Can you elaborate on that?
So I think is different, the kind of friends that we started keeping. I noticed that I like to make friends with people who live in nicer neighborhoods. I grew up in a place called Warri in Delta State. Yeah. So I grew up in a place called Warri. So I began to befriend guys like the Alanas, people that they came from better neighborhoods. So on the weekends, I go and see them. So maybe experientially, those things began to influence me. I say, you know what, this is perhaps the kind of life that I want to live. They had bicycles I didn't have. So you see them in the morning. When you go and see them in the morning, they were eating. They were having toast, bacon and egg, sausages in the mornings. But you don't know how those things are perhaps influencing, the kind of life that you want to live. On holiday, they go for summer. I can remember vividly. I went to see one of them. I think there are like 4 children in the house, and their mom was piling up their international passport. They were going on holiday. I can never forget that experience. So all of those things began to shape my life. And then the pivotal moment was in 1999 when I became a follower of Christ. That was the peak of the experience of transformation. So I think all of those experiences helped me a lot. But because of that, I'm very empathetic for women. I'm very, very, very empathetic. I don't like to see a woman suffer. I cannot stand that because of where I have been. And because of that as well, because I grew up with one or two relatives that were very harsh to me. So I was like taking care of the house, one or two people that live in the house were very harsh to me. I'm very sensitive when people are very harsh to nannies in Nigeria. Very, very. It's a trigger for me. It'd be a big trigger. Yeah, so my house, nobody talks to my nannies anyhow. No matter where you are. No. So it's a trigger. Yeah, so those are triggers. My children cannot even be disrespectful to my nannies. I will not even take it. I won't even take it. So those are triggers, how people react. So those pains are still there, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you know what's interesting? I love how you talk about the fact that you had an image. You were able to see through your friends another life.
Yeah.
And that way you were able to then say to yourself, although I am here right now currently, it doesn't have to be the only place I will be. There is another life.
That's true.
Love the fact that you were then able, so exposure,
exposure,
self-worth, so powerful. That's what I'm hearing you say. And also what I'm hearing you say as well, which is super powerful as well, it's just around the experiences that you had. Some people, experiences make them bitter.
Yeah.
Some people, it makes them better.
Yeah.
You had those experiences where people made you feel a certain way. They treated you wrongly because you were in the house and they were very harsh to you. Yeah. But you became better as a result of it instead of you find the situations where the same. That's why they say, the same way you were raised is the same way you raise others.
That's right. That's true.
It's really, really, it's like, how have you been able to almost give what you don't have?
It's very, very powerful. You just asked a very powerful question. How have you been able to almost give what you don't have? That's a very deep question. To add things to that, I was a stammerer. So I was laughed at a lot. And I was told that I was an ugly child. Because I had a big head growing up. So you can imagine all of that traumatic experience as a child.
Wow.
But people don't know, that's why I tell people you need to be careful with your words around children. You don't have a clue. Michael Jackson was always laughed at. I had a big nose. People told me I had a big head, that I was a stammerer, that I was the ugly twin. It's crazy. But for some reason, I didn't allow those things to affect me. I didn't allow it to affect me. So how did I begin to give what I didn't have? So I can relate something. Now you're asking, I just remember that I read an old Ebony magazine, and then it was about a Black American writer. He had dreads, really cool guy. I said I would like to be a writer like this guy. He was talking about the story where he took his children to school in the morning, got back home, opened his MacBook Pro, and he was writing. I'm like, this is such a cool life. This thing books are very transformative. It was very powerful. I cannot forget that experience. I began to say, it would be nice if I write and speak like this for a living, but I'm a stammerer. Who laugh at me? I just kept that thought there. And I remember telling a relative that I wanted to do this. The relative laughed at me to scorn. Laughed at me to scorn. So then I began to read a lot of books, and most of the books I read, they were men that took care of their wives. I read a lot of books that, the man would talk about his children. I was always, that they went on holiday. All of those things. And I said, if I get married, I'm really going to love and take care of my wife. So nobody actually modeled those things to me. It was really books that I read, over time. How to love your children, how to, and I think those things are now become I've become what I've exposed myself to.
Woo!
Yes. So basically, yes. I think that's the thing. I've become what I've exposed myself to. Yeah.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful.
I like that line. You become what you expose yourself to. That's very powerful. Very, very tweetable line. So powerful. I like that.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And also, so let's talk about just your journey.
Okay.
You start off, in these circumstances where you couldn't control.
Yeah.
How are you able to then navigate yourself through, self-control, really, because it's you, because your mother wasn't doing it for you, in a sense. Her priority was making sure you were fed and watered.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So the rest for you was you trying to then navigate. How were you able to then start to navigate your life? And what did that look like for you as a young Paul Foh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course, as a teenager, you had your own share of up and down as a teenager. Girls, drinks, cigarettes. But like I always say, the pivotal moment for me was when I became a Christ follower in 1999. That was where my journey actually started. It was a transformative experience. In June 1999, I became a Christ follower. And if you're listening to me, and this is not a religious show, but it's part of my journey. And if I don't speak about that, I will not be truthful to myself. So that was the start of the journey for me. Thank God for my sisters that could pay my fees. I went to school, but that shaped me. I read a book called The Pursuit of Purpose by Miles Monroe. It's late now, may soul rest in perfect peace. It was a very, very transformative book for me. I now understood what purpose is. And I said, you know what, I can actually begin to speak and encourage people for a living. I thought I was going to be a preacher. Dreams come in different incarnations. This is a different incarnation of what I thought my dream was supposed to be. So, and then the stuttering began to go away because I began to talk more.
I love it.
Yes, I began to talk more. And if you listen to me well, sometimes there are traces of that, and I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that. So that's how I started it. Went to school, did my NYSC, what they call NYSC in Nigeria. You have to serve your country for 1 year. As I finished NYSC, I didn't do a 9-to-5 job. This is all I've done all my life to take care of my wife and my children. That is how the journey started.
So you straight from NYSC went into straight from NYSC
went into speaking. Yes, speaking first before coaching.
Oh wow!
Yes, I was just speaking randomly, and then I came to Lagos in 2010. Went to the Land Revolutionary Coaching Academy, and then I saw the power of coaching, and I've never looked back up until that time. Yeah,
that is amazing.
Yes, very powerful.
Amazing.
Very powerful.
So, Paul, I want you to, and I think you're in the perfect position to do this. I want you to speak to somebody who is listening to this, who is still in a dark place. They've had the experiences that have happened, things that are circumstances that they perhaps couldn't have control, but they are even within it. There are things. They say you can't control what happens to you, but you can control your response to it.
That's right. Yeah.
You have been able to control your response to what happened. I want you to speak. This is a segment on the show where I always like people to speak directly to groups of people. I want you to speak to somebody who is listening to me, who is perhaps still in that place where they're just feeling like, they're in a pit of self-pity. And self-pity is almost like it's like quicksand. You want to go, but you don't know how. Can you just give them some sort of words to sort of say, if I could do it, I want you to speak to their mindset, please.
So it is all about knowing that if you live in your memory, right, you are stuck in your memory. And all you would just do is that you stay there, you feel sorry about yourself. What happened it's painful. It is hurtful. Don't deny it. But you're staying there and being stuck in that memory. Does it serve you? If it serves you, fantastic. But does it serve you? If it doesn't serve you, then you have the ability to choose a different reality. It's a choice. What happened has happened. Staying there will make you feel good. Staying in the unforgiveness will make you feel justified. But that doesn't really change your life. If change is what you want, it doesn't really serve you. It happened. It's very hurtful. I'm not saying that you condone that, What I'm saying is that you embrace it for what it is, and knowing that, I was talking to Eric, we're talking about anti-fragile. What happened. Look at it as something that can make you stronger. So my encouragement to you is that, I love what Les Brown said in life, you either moving into a problem or coming out of one challenge. So just embrace, it's part of the uncertainties of life. You couldn't control that. It wasn't your control. You didn't ask for those challenges to happen to you. It happened. The question is, are you going to stay there? Are you going to stay there? If you are staying there, does it serve you? If it doesn't serve you, embrace a different reality. So that as I'm encouraging you, somebody else is waiting for you to also be an encouragement to them. Just as my voice is resonating with you right now, there is somebody hurting right now that is only your voice and your story can heal. And that's how we make the world a better place. Yes, when I said forgiveness is a fragrance that we shed on the heel that has crushed us. I love it. I love that. The forgiveness is the fragrance that we shed on the heel that has crushed us. I love that. That's so powerful.
The fragrance that we shed
on the heel that crushed us. Yeah, I love that. That
is super powerful.
Yeah, he also said that the sun after all these years, the sun has never looked at the earth and said, "You owe me."
Oh, I know. After all
Tom Ryan taking me to my coaching days. You know, I used to be a life coach, but I became a sales coach. So I still have those dimensions in me.
It's so powerful. After all this, the sun has never said to the earth, "You owe me."
Yeah. It's powerful.
Wow. Can you contextualize that? So in the life of this person, what does that mean?
So let me contextualize this now. What happened is happened. You have some people that you want to hold a grudge against. Release them. You just free yourself. This life, some people are just here to hurt you. Some of the hurt, you also need to understand that the hurts are to remind you of areas of your life that you need to heal as well. Yeah. They're very painful. They're very hurtful. But forgive them so that you can be free. They asked Nelson Mandela, said, why did you forgive your oppressors? He said, because if I don't forgive them, I will still be in prison. I will still be in prison. Your oppressors have moved on with their lives. They are moving on with their lives. So don't imprison yourself. Release it. It's painful, I know that. But then move on so that your life can be a song and a testimony to someone else's life.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. We're pretty much just, soaking you up for all your worth, Paul.
Yeah.
So this person now that you've spoken to has now heard you say this and said, you know what? I am ready for the next step. As a life coach, what are some 3 questions that they can start to ask themselves to start to position themselves for a better, tomorrow, or a better, what can they start to do with themselves to start to move towards that light that you're talking about?
I always tell my clients to write a narrative to themselves. So the beginning of every year, if it's January, I tell my clients, write a story to yourself as if 2020 has already ended. Yeah, so I do that a lot. It's very therapeutic for me. I do that. I do self-coaching on myself. So here's how I read my goals to myself. So when I'm drinking coffee in the morning, I say to myself, even in January this year, I said, it is December 31st, 2020, and I'm sitting in my own house drinking coffee. Yeah, the year has not ended, but I'm talking to myself as if the year has ended. So it's a very powerful thing. So what they can say is that if this year ends now, if 2020 ends now, what kind of conversation do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to live?
Yeah.
Once you're clear about that, walk backwards. Do a reverse engineer. Yes. It's a very powerful thing. It's a very, very powerful thing once you understand that. Because you're declaring the end from the beginning. You are, there's something I always tell clients. I said, a goal is not where you go to, it's where you come from. Your goal is not where you go to, it's where you come from. So let me explain that. So if you say, I want to be fit, for example, that's not where you're going to. If you are coming from there, how does a fit person eat? When does a fit person? I don't know if I understood. So that's where you're coming from.
Making sense.
Yeah. So it's very powerful to come from your goal, not where you're going to. It's like a pull. It pulls you in. If it's where you're coming from, it's a different relationship you'll have with that goal. So that's what I would advise people. Talk to yourself. Write a letter to yourself as if the year has ended. Don't wait till 2021 to end. Write 2021 because you are like the architect of your own life. Write a letter to yourself as if the year has ended. Where will you be? Where do you want to be? What kind of narrative do you want to have? And begin to live from that. Really, your life is a script. We're all living a script, really. Just make the script an intentional one.
An intentional.
Yeah, because if you don't make the script an intentional one, you will leave the script given to you by some other person. Yes. Make it after all, you can script your day anyway. Your to-do list is actually a script. It's a movie. You said I will do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. It's a script. Why don't you do a script for an entire year? An entire year. Yeah, there will be adjustments here and there because you have course. When an airplane is flying, it doesn't go straight from London, Heathrow to Lagos. Boom. No. Course correct. It goes off course, on course, off course, on course. But it's clear about its destination because he's working with his script. Yeah, so that's the way I see it.
Amazing. That is so powerful. Thank you so much. So like I kind of touched on earlier, my guests, by the time they listen to this, it will be the 31st day of December, and they're going to be preparing themselves for a brand new year, 2021. So what I want you to do now is to drop some thoughts. What are some, things that are, I know you've talked about the scripting now, which is great, they have that now, but what are some things that you are, what is on your heart personally for yourself that perhaps you can share with some of my listeners so that they can also be considering these things for 2021? What things, your sales and your productivity coach, what are some productivity thoughts and insights that you can share to help us make 2021 the most productive year that we've ever had?
So I think number one is over-index on massive positive action. Have a strong bias for action. Know your goal. We have talked about your script now. The action that you need to take to achieve that goal. I want you to over-index with that. Take massive action, especially as the year starts. Because most people, they start the year with a lot of enthusiasm, but they don't sustain it to the end of the year. I sustained my goal to the end of the year. Wow. I declared my goal into existence from the beginning of this year to the end of this year. And I achieved the 3 major goals I wanted to achieve this year. Not everybody has that same capacity.
But how? I mean, now I need this advice for my own self. How are you able to stay consistent? Like,
that's the thing. Tomra, I'm crazy.
Because this is so powerful. What you're sharing here is so powerful because we all set goals. Come New Year, we all set goals. But what differentiates the people who go on to achieve every last goal that they set out to achieve? I love what
it's about that. So Tomra, I was in a coffee shop drinking coffee the other day, and I discussed this with my friend John Obidi. Last year I drew the kind of house I wanted to live in. I drew it drinking coffee with a pencil. So I always carry my journal. I drew it like an artist who drew it with 3 bicycles in front of the house. I drew a 3-bedroom duplex. I was drinking coffee. I had forgotten the goal because you forget your goal doesn't forget you. Yes. So Tomra, I look back and I live in that house. It's crazy. Goals are powerful. I live in that house.
The house you drew.
Oh, I'm telling you. In fact, it's even 4, not even 3. I drew 3 bicycles. There are actually 4 bicycles. I have 1. It's powerful. So if you ask, one of the things that people need is that carry evidence of your goal around you. This is my study. I have my vision board here. I carry my journal with me everywhere I go. I draw my goals. I don't just write goals. But I teach clients to draw the goal. Even if you're a bad artist, just draw it. You affect the creative part of your mind. It doesn't forget. You cannot be vague in drawing. Drawing gives you clarity. Yes. So you carry the goal with you. Speak your goal into existence. So I declare my goals every single day. Every day. And I declare it from the past tense, Tomra. I don't say like I am going to.
Mm-hmm.
When you said I am going to, that means there's a sense of you don't have it. And then when you're declaring the goal, this is a big trick here. Don't declare it as if it does not, or as if it does not happen. Say it as if it has already happened. Remember, I said that your goal is a place that you are coming from, not where you are going. So you don't say, I now have 1,000 pounds. No.
That's so powerful.
I'm grateful and happy that I now have, and because I have 1,000 pounds, I have been able to do this and this and this. You are conditioning your subconscious mind. So that's the way I say it. Before I bought my property, I never said I was going to buy a house. I say I now have, now live. I'm not going to. I now have. I now live. I never said you have a great marriage. I say I'm enjoying my marriage. I go on a holiday every year. Even when I was broke, I kept saying that. I said I'd go on holiday around the world every year. So you say it as if it has already happened. You call the destination. You call the place. So I think if your listener will use this, you see, it's the fundamentals that change our lives. Some of you may be listening to me right now and say, Coach, I've already heard this. No, you have not heard it enough. I was telling some people, I said, don't read 100 books in 2021. Read 10 books, but read them 10 times. Tomra, do you know that Dr. Chatterjee that I said all of us should listen to, the guy he was interviewing is in his 40s. Now he plays tennis. Do you know he watched Andy Murray's tennis video 300 times? Can you believe that? He watched it over and over. That's mastery.
Yeah. Mastery.
So you should listen to this podcast again, guys. My favorite podcast, I don't listen to them once. I listen to them again and again and again. The problem with this generation is that they want to go to the next podcast, the next book, the next stuff. So there's no repetition. So there's no mastery. You should listen to Tomra's podcast, some of your favorites, over and over again. So you get the spirit of it. I met a multi-billionaire who is a client of mine in dollars. He told me, here it is, he read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People 40 times. Can you beat that, Tomra? The guy is a billionaire in dollars. He read How to Win and Influence Friends. That book is almost 50 years old. He read that book 40 times, Tomra. 40.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He said that's what made him a billionaire. 40 times he learned how to smile by reading that book. Now, this our millennial generation, they will not even finish it. Oh my goodness. That is the principle. They just jumping from one place to another. Dr. Chatterjee said it. He was for 3 years. Every week he shows up. You see the pattern of consistency. Over and over, and that's how you gain mastery. So those of you listening to this Tomra's podcast, go back and listen to your favorite episodes. Go back and listen. There's something you didn't get there. Go back. There's a spirit behind what the person was saying. Go back. Don't rush to read the next book in 2021. Go back and read your favorite books. Listen to Tomra again, over and over again. That's how you get the spirit of the coach. Don't just rush.
Oh my gosh. You have set something 2021 ablaze.
Yes.
I hope we got the spirit of what Coach Paul was saying there. He was saying that it is not in the bouncing around. It is in repetition that you get mastery. It is in repetition. So if you want your 2021 to be very different from anything you've ever experienced, focus on mastery, focused on repetition, and that is where you get your strength from. I absolutely love that. Absolutely. If that's all you said, I think that is deliverance for my listeners. So I'm really, really super grateful for that. Okay. So I wanted to also touch on, because you touched on it at the start. I think this is super important, and there's just an impression upon me that we should go on that again. Touch on just fatherhood. I have some men who might be listening to this at some point. Just that importance of affirmation in the lives of sons, in the lives of daughters. What, it's interesting because as we said earlier, you're giving what you didn't have. So people who may be in that position as well, where they are struggling to relate with their children, maybe because of experiences that they've had.
Yes, very powerful. Yeah, our children are gifts to us. They're young, they're innocent. I don't think you'll be doing a lot of disservice to a child if you pass on a negative experience that you had. I understand sometimes you may not be able to help yourself as a man. Tomra, I was coaching a guy once. This is very touching, very moving. This guy was in his 30s when I was coaching him. He didn't have a date. He's a banker, no girlfriend, no relationship. He was timid and unsure of himself. He said, Paul, do you know why I'm like this? I said, why? He says, because of my dad. My father beats me so much, verbally abused me so much. So after my session with him, he said he picked up his phone and called his father. And he was crying on the phone. You know what his father said to him? In his 30 years of existence, the father said to him, my son, I'm sorry. I treated you exactly the way my father treated me. He beats me so bad. Are you seeing the generational? Yes. So if you're a father, listen to me. I know it's not easy. If you need to talk to a coach, talk to Tom Bright. If you need to talk to someone to heal you, you need to talk to somebody. Don't allow your children go through the same thing that you went. They may not survive it like you survived it. My God. They may not survive it like you survived it. You get me? So, like we have established a thesis here. You can give what you don't have, really. You can't. By the grace of God. So you need to go to Jesus for healing, and then go to a therapist, go to a coach, speak to Tom Brown, whatever. That's not my job. I'm not a sales coach. I don't help people with that. That's not my forte. But do that. And then affirm your children. Affirm them. Your child may not be good academically. That's another thing. Love them unconditionally. Because your parents, they loved you when you do well in school. But look at the world that we're living in today. The most successful people in this world, it's not by their academics. The dynamics have changed. So if you don't love that child now, if you love him conditionally, when he becomes successful, you're going to have a bad experience with that child. So just love your children, create a space for them to become. That's brother. Yes, just create a space for them to become. Create the basics for them, and that is love. Come from love. Don't judge them based on what your friends' children are doing. No, that is their journey. Your journey is totally and completely different. So that is my own advice.
And women as well. I think a lot of women.
Exactly. And women out there. And never tell your children, can't you see that child? Can't you see that child? No, don't do that.
Honestly, Paul, this session has been so deep for me because I think your story very deeply, I really, really connect to your story. And I really, I'm grateful that you would bring yourself like this and just share openly and honestly from your heart. And I know that the lives that are listening to this will be forever changed as a result of it. So I'm super excited. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, the things that you're up to. What are you, a sales coach? What have you got in the pipeline? What are you up to, sir?
So I've got a class coming up on the 3rd of January. I'm going to start that year. It's called how to increase or hit your sales target for 2021. So it's going to be a serious deep dive of over 12 to 3 hours where we teach about sales and productivity step by step on how to be clear about your sales target and how to go about touching it. It's not rocket science. It's doable. So you don't repeat the mistakes of your 2020. And knowing that the world is changing, we don't know what this pandemic is going to do. We don't know whether they're going to lock us down more. So you need to be ready mentally, spiritually, and all of that. And selling is a critical part of it because you got to eat, man. And if you don't sell, you ain't eating. You don't sell, you ain't popping.
Don't sell, you ain't popping. You heard that. I'm not just saying it because Paul is here or is on my podcast, but Paul, honestly, he is a master at this thing. If there is one sales training or webinar that you will attend, I would say it has to be this one. The reason is it is very, very, very nicely positioned. I like the fact that it is at the start of the year. So this is an opportunity for you to tune in and get your goals aligned, get your goals in check, understand that possibility, what is possible, because Paul will be doing for you what his friends, family did for him. Open your eyes to what is possible so that you can see that you are not where you are. It's not the only place that you can be. And then show you those goals that you can then start to work from. As we have established, you work from the goals backwards. Goals, so that you can now start to walk backwards from them. I know that it's going to be a totally transformative experience. So you want to be at that webinar, and I will link the details on the show notes so that you can get the, you can register for it. I know Paul, and Paul, he's the real deal. I don't believe I've ever said this on this podcast, but he is the real deal. He will give you substance. It's not all that waffle stuff. It's substance. So you want to be there if you want to take your game onto the next level. So Paul, I also want to touch on your book, because I know you've written a book.
Yeah, my seventh book is out.
Just out. About that. Do you want to talk to us about it a little bit?
It's called Irresistible: How to Attract, Retain, and Multiply Paying Clients. We're setting up the Amazon link will be up tonight, so I'm going to send you that link as well. Yeah, so it's a game changer.
By the time my listeners are listening, the link would have been.
The link will be it's out. Yeah,
it's called Irresistible, right?
Irresistible, yes, Irresistible. So you get that, and it covers a lot of things from productivity. And a lot more title there, how to overcome your inner demons that stops you from selling. Why every entrepreneur or solopreneur or side hustler should have a book, and how that can be a marketing tool for their businesses. Someone's going to speak about it in the webinar. So you definitely want to come in for that. I want to touch on two things before we go very quickly. So I know I was speaking to you offline, and you talked about two skills that are so critical going into, we talked about writing and you talked about speaking. Can you just elaborate? Some people are listening and say, why would I want to speak? Like, I'm a doctor, I'm this. What does speaking have to do with it? Can you just elaborate on this so that my listeners understand the importance of having, these critical skills? Very powerful. So those two skills, they raise your profile on the job. You should be the go-to person. I mean, look at Dr. Chatterjee. Yeah, there are plenty of doctors in the UK, but nobody knows them. It raises your profile. And they are learnable skills. And in today's world, people are looking at the personal brand. You're not just an employee number. If you want to stand out in a very competitive world, it is important that you master. I use the word master. The skill is learnable, it's transferable, it's portable. The skill of talking well and writing. Those two skills will do so much for you in your career than your next MBA. Trust me, it will.
Wow.
It will. Those two skills. According to even Coursera is a big online platform. They said that one of the critical skills you need for 2021 is writing. So they've confirmed that as well.
Wow.
So look at the popular people in the world. Christiana Amanpour is because she can talk. Oprah is because she can talk. It's all that. I was telling you earlier today that one of my staff got a new job because he had a podcast. That means he can talk. So it opens doors for a lot of people. So you must master that skill. Going forward.
And perhaps there are people like yourself, Paul, who feel, they feel limited by the fact that, I stammer, or my accent, or I don't pronounce my words well. What is your advice? How were you able to overcome that and become it? In fact, what gave you the audacity to think a speaker as somebody who stammers? Because I want you to set somebody free here.
Yeah, it's a growth mindset. It's a growth mindset. They should all read them at Carol Dweck's book.
I've read it, yeah,
mindset. That's a very, very transformative. It's a seminal book. Everybody should read that book. It's a very good book. It's having that growth mindset, knowing that there are no limits to your potential, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is a skill gap. And that if you put in the work, it will eclipse your weakness. To eclipse your weakness. The world will pay attention to you. Trust me, they will.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul. I want you to just say the final words, release my listeners into 2021. Just speak whatever is on your heart, and just release my listeners into a productive.
So the words in my spirit are, may May you find love with yourself and people that truly love you. That's that. Because when you have those two things, you are fine. May it be peaceful, shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken, nothing lacking. But may you find love within yourself and the people that are around. People that you can be vulnerable around and not be ashamed. Once you have that, you will be unscathed.
I love it. Epic. Thank you so much. I told you, I did warn you that it was going to be an epic show today. So thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for just, thank you, Paul, for just being here. It's just been amazing. Thank you so much. So guys on listening, I wish you a fantastic, as we stand at the precipice of a brand new year.
Yeah.
I want to wish you a happy new year in advance. It's going to be happy new year in a few hours. I wish you a happy new year. And I wish you the best that 2021 has to offer. And remember, your work in that best comes with intention. It comes with being deliberate about the things that you want to achieve. And as Paul says, working backwards from those goals that you've set for yourself. Thank you so much, Paul. This has been such an amazing show. I've been so blessed. Thank you for joining me today on the Unscathed Live podcast. I trust you have taken away actionable practices for living unscathed. You can check me out on my website at www.unscathed.me or on Instagram at tombra.moswago and Facebook at The Unscathed Life. Have a great week, and do remember to be resilient in all your endeavors. Bye for now.